how can you juggle 15 projects at one time?
Thank you, Denis, for accepting my invitation.
My pleasure.
I was really excited when you said yes, because I was amazed when I heard the numbers that you guys are achieving, both from how many developments you do per year and also how fast you do them. So what's your secret? How do you move so much faster than everybody else?
I guess what people haven't seen is the time leading up to where we are today, where people are seeing me today. It's been a little bit of hard work, and it's been a long time coming, finding those right people to work with and refining the process. And now today we see when we've got a lot of momentum, and it's good. It's being able to reap the rewards of a lot of hard work.
And I can't wait for you to share more about maybe a few numbers about what you guys are doing now. But before that, where did it all start? What have you done before doing real estate, and how was the start? How was the starting point for you?
Originally, I was a tradesman working as a pressure welder, and I worked for an Australian company doing fly in, fly out work to Papua New Guinea, coming from New Zealand. And what actually happened was, when I got to Australia, and because I thought if I could get to the Middle East where all the big oil and gas companies were, I could maybe set myself up for the future. Continuity of work, so many things. But in reality, I got to Australia and I realised pretty quickly that Australia is the lucky country. I don't need to go to the Middle East. The working conditions and the opportunities in this country are like no other. So I rolled my sleeves up and a little bit of elbow grease, and I said, what can I make of it? And this is an amazing country. There's no two ways about it. And anyone that lives here, or anyone that's looking to come to Australia, there's no two ways about it. There's so many opportunities here.
I'm totally on the same page with you. I'm not sure if you know, but I did relocated to Australia not too long ago. And yeah, that was basically because of the educational system, because of the health system, and also because of the level of opportunity that I feel like when you balance the level of opportunity and the benefits that the Australia is offering, I feel like there is not a lot of places that are better.
Oh, absolutely. And obviously I have two kids, and education was big. I had the opportunity to not only put them through private school, but the public system's amazing as well. So we took the opportunity to put them through private school. And one thing that I've found about the private system is the company they keep as young adults, the way they're treated in private schools as young adults. The teachers treat them differently. So it's a whole different mindset, which obviously expands even further as they get older and mature.
I'm probably going on a tangent now, but how old are your kids and what are they doing? Are they in real estate as well?
My son's actually doing his project management degree, and he works part-time with us, but he also has his own job. He works in the hospitality industry, and he's 24. My daughter is 20, and she's doing her third year in university, and she's doing fashion and design a degree.
And do I remember correctly that they also did their first development at such a young age?
Yes, they did. They grew up around us doing development, and kids pick up more than what you think they pick up, and they got to the point, because they were young adults, and my daughter was actually 18 at the time, year 12, and she said to me, "Hey Dad, when can we do a development? I've been talking to Damien." And I said, "Oh, that's a good question. Let's go and ask your mother." So what we did is we did have money saved. We had the birthday money, thanks to Nana and Granddad and family. everyone used to put money in together, and then we could decide what the kids wanted to buy. So we took that money, and they had enough for us they didn't really have enough for a deposit. So what we decided to do is we actually drew money off our own home to bring it up to a 10% deposit. But believe you me, they had quite a bit of money, compounding interest. This is from when they were born, so they had a big chunk. But what we decided to do was not give them the money, but gift them the money for a certain amount of time.
Sort of like a loan.
Yes, because people say if you give people money, what did they actually learn? Our kids were learning the whole time with us, so I guess their learning started at an early age. But what we did is all we did was speed up the process. So we gifted the money out of our house, but we didn't let them have it or keep it. We loaned it to them for the duration of the build, and then when we got the duplex strata titled and revalued, then the equity growth we took back. So what they actually own is what they own. What we did was only gift them for the duration of the build, partial of the deposit. The rest was all theirs.
Beautiful. I feel like this approach is so special. I know a lot of parents that sort of, to a certain degree, took the joy of their kids enjoying an experience and their first sort of investment, because they offer this gift. I remember when I did my first property investment, the night I slept in the property, I could not sleep. I was so excited, and that was because I did it with my own powers. There was nobody that offered me a gift I feel like this joy is very relevant. I feel like it sort of increases also the motivation to go again and again and again, because you can't really appreciate it at the same level if is not your sweat equity in there.
Exactly. Now, one other thing was that we learnt along the way, the sooner you can get into property, the easier and better it is. So what better way to be able to get your children into property at such an early age? I believe everyone that probably is watching this and they're looking at property, or they're looking at their property journey, they always say, gee, if I'd only done this earlier, or if I'd had the opportunity to do it earlier. And that's really the biggest gift that we've given, is we've given our two young adults the opportunity to get in at such an early age, because it is a challenge to be able to do it on your own. So now they both own a unit, because they own each one unit of a duplex, and now they're planning on what their next step is at such a young age.
That's a very valuable gift, in my opinion. Now, it sounds like we're going to explore a bit further at what level you guys are at the moment. But what was the first step? How did you make the transition from having a job to becoming a developer, and what were the the first steps that you've taken? Because I feel like at the beginning there is a lot of uncertainty, and people would benefit from learning from you.
Oh, okay. So one of the first things we did is we sat down, me and my lovely wife, we sat down and we said, okay, where do we want to be? So it was planning and seeing where we'd be in 12 months, 2 years, 5 years. So reality was, I was earning good money because I was doing the fly in, fly out work. So we weren't wasting it by buying speedboats. Well, I shouldn't say wasting it. I wasn't putting myself in debt that wasn't going to be beneficial to my future. So when we looked we started off at property investing. So we purchased a number of properties that we could add value to, whether it was small manufacturing or complete renovation or just buy and hold. So every time we looked at something, we looked about how does this fit in the next 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, and so on and so forth. So the real plan is actually planning. So if you can do that planning and realise that getting to your financial freedom or getting in a position to be financially free isn't a 5-minute thing, but if you do diversity and you look at, so I said different strategies there, look at property investing, but also adding value through renovation, but also researching and education about other strategies. So doing a combination of things, actually what all came together. We got to a point where we're about a couple of years in, and then what we decided to do was we had started to grow this portfolio, so we were starting to get some certainty with rental incomes and positive cash flow and properties going up in equity. But how about we have a look at this property development side of things? So it was a bit of a conversation at the kitchen table that was, do we look at what's going up in value and put all our education and money in that direction, or do we start and keep growing a portfolio, but that costs time? Or do we focus on positive cash flow, which focuses on more the money input that's going into it? So the two biggest things were positive cash flow, meaning I don't have to keep putting my hand in my pocket every month to top up all the mortgages.
Yeah.
But we also wanted to be able to grow a portfolio. And then there's the other factor that a lot of people come across, and I think everyone does at some stage, and that's the fear factor. What happens if I lose everything? So we were looking for a really low risk model. So we did a lot of research, and believe me, I'm talking about 12 months of research, just trying to actually find out which one can satisfy at least one or two of these things. And that's when we came across duplexes. It was at the bottom end of the scale of property development, but we were still in the residential loaning side of things. So it was something that anyone could do. Then we also looked at how can we get positive cash flow? Well, when you've got a duplex, you've got two incomes. So you've definitely got the positive cash flow. You won't always get that unless you've got a super large deposit if you've got a single dwelling. But then there was the other factor, how do I grow a portfolio? So here we are, the duplex, if we build at a wholesale price, you're actually strata titling it into two separate properties. So we build originally joined, then we separate the titles, and that's where you're actually generating manufactured equity. So if you want to grow a portfolio, you've now created, with the increase in value, the manufactured equity, putting you in the right direction for your deposit to grow that portfolio. So if I just take that back a step and just refine it a little bit, I've got two incomes, so it's always positive cash flow. So every month I'm not having to put my hand in my pocket. The strata titling gives me an increase in manufactured growth, but actually gives me a massive chunk towards growing my portfolio. So that means I don't have to go back to square one and start spending the next 5 years creating a deposit. I'm getting it within 3 months of the strata title.
Exactly. So it's also fundamentally like you're buying something from a factory, not paying the retail price.
Absolutely. I'm not having to wait 2 years or 3 years for it to go up in growth, or did I actually buy in the right location? So you're reducing your risks there. So
definitely. So how many of those duplexes do you currently do per year?
We like to be conservative, and we like to say 10 to 20. That way we know that we can achieve our numbers. Some people think that, oh, but you look like you've done so many. We have, because we've been doing them for a while. But a lot of things come into play. So when I say that, we might secure a whole lot of land, but depending on how the land developer goes with these land titles, depends on when we actually get the land. So I might secure 20 blocks of land, but only 14 of them actually make it to titles for me to build on in that 12-month period.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't get too, not stuck on the numbers, but we don't get we're not solidly specific on the numbers.
I totally get them. So what's your process? How fast do you build them, and do you engage a builder? Do you have a builder's license? How does it work?
Okay, so I don't have a builder's license. What we do is we learn over time, because originally our first build that we did was full retail. So it was a one-off build, and we were just getting to look at what the design was, what we actually get for this amount of dollar. So reality is you're going to get a good price no matter where you go and who you go to, but it's hard to be able to do it consistently or a lot of numbers unless you can do some volume. And it's like anything that you do in business, if you're able to offer people a lot of work, they're able to use their leverage and give you discounted prices. So we engage builders and we offer them volume builds. We've built up a reputation today where we've been able to deliver consistently multiple builds, and that's not only with our clients but also with our professionals that we use, town planning, architecture, the whole lot right the way through engineering, and of course most importantly our builder. So things work off volume. If I can give someone volume, they can give me discounts, and that's why some people say, how do you get those numbers? I said it's simple.
It's a numbers game.
Yeah, it's not easy. And but if people are looking at doing a duplex, I would highly suggest sit down, go through the process, look at it, and if it's something that you like to do, it's easily achievable to do with joint venture partners, and go and see if you can get 4 blocks of land and see if you can give someone multiple builds. And then if you're taking 4 blocks of land, then maybe land developers will be able to give you a discount on the price of the land.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what stage do you get the land? Stage 1, stage 5? Where do you aim to get in?
It's ideally obviously stage 1, but sometimes there's other builders in front of you. Fortunately enough for us today, because we had to go through that to get to where we are today, but where we are today, we've got 3, 4 and 5 developments that we're working with developers today. We proved ourselves the first time, and now we're up to the 3rd development, 4th development and 5th development. Obviously they're calling us 12 months in advance today, and they're saying, hey, we're looking at this land, we believe we can get some duplex sites on it, would you guys come in and sit down with us, have a look? We've got the engineers here on Wednesday. This is what we're proposing when we go into the office, and then we go, oh hey, they look great, but how about you move that easement into the 1 street back, and then we'll take some land here, this corner lot would be great, so on and so forth. And they go, great. So we give them the pre-sales, we drop down some deposits, and then 12 months later we watch the build come to fruition, as some people have seen in our videos, and that's how we get our land earlier.
Beautiful. That sounds like an amazing process. And I also know that you're amazing with your processes in how you're delivering projects as well. I remember I've heard in a podcast that you've done that you guys have a 203-step process on your approach from the due diligence to actual delivery. So I'm just wondering if you can share a few of those steps. And
absolutely,
I feel like it's amazing to have everything, so procedures for everything. I'm sure it allows you to delegate and sort of achieve those results.
So we initially started off and we did the duplex for ourselves to see how it would work. Sure enough, it was positive cash flow, and it went up in equity. So that's exactly what we wanted, so we could do another one. We had friends of ours say, oh, that's amazing, could you help us? So that's exactly what we did. We went through the process with them. We actually helped them and delivered them a product very similar to ours, but just in a different location. And then friends of theirs saw, and then friends of theirs saw, and it just kept getting momentum. And then one day this guy said to me, so what are you doing this for? And we said, well, we're doing this because you're a friend of Mark's, right? And he goes, oh, so you're actually doing it to help. We said, yeah. He goes, if you two started your own business, you could help so many more people. And we laughed about that, right? We said, no, we're just doing this to help. We'd never do this as a business. Fast forward to where we are today. So we got some momentum helping people, and we realised that maybe we could make this a business. So we started doing it, and then we started realising that, hey, we're juggling 2 or 3 developments at once. You know, where are we with this and where are we with that? And we had things on Excel spreadsheets, and we were sort of like all over the place. And we were actually part of another business group that introduced us to systemization. And if you don't mind me mentioning, can I mention?
Yeah,
we were in a business group called Business Blueprint, run by an amazing gentleman called Dale Beaumont in Sydney, and he helps small businesses grow. And one of the things that they teach you is systemization. He had part of that business model, a wonderful gentleman called John Tonkin, and he was the systems guru. So we went along and we met this guy John, and we saw his presentation, and it was absolutely amazing. And because I had a background in quality assurance, quality control, and the oil and gas industry with the pressure welding and inspection, I went, wow, we've got to get this guy to come and have a look at what we do and help us. And he did. So he sat with us for 5 days, from 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night, and he pulled everything out of our brains, everything. Because what business owners find is that everything's in your head, and you're relying on what you remember at the time where everything is. Sure, you have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Today, you have a lot of platforms, apps, so on and so forth, which are absolutely amazing. But to actually sit down and get that information out of your head is so valuable. Then you can actually look at your process, and you can be talking to your professionals about the process. You can be talking to your client about the process, and you can actually add so much value. It gives people confidence, it gives you confidence, and when everyone talks about improvement and how communication works, but when you've got a solid process, and you go back and you review it, it's really easy to make it better and better and better. And then people go, how can you juggle 15 projects at one time? Because that's what our current model can sit at, and then we have to change it slightly to increase the numbers. But having that confidence, if I just go back to Business Blueprint for a second, we do charity work, as a lot of people do, and we spend a week over in Thailand with the Business Blueprint ride, helping the orphanages, generating money to be able to support the orphanages. And the Business Blueprint and Hands Across the Water do an absolutely amazing job, and we're able to support them doing that. If I couldn't manage my business, if it wasn't systemized, there's no way I could manage my business. So I couldn't step out of it for 5 minutes, especially trying to juggle 15 builds at once. But having the whole business systemized, I know exactly where my business is. I know which professional is doing what at the blink of an eye. And it's a quick phone call, a text, and as my lovely wife likes to say, who does most of the work, and she's amazing. She said, I couldn't ride a push bike 500 kilometres in 5 days raising money for an orphanage if I had to juggle 15 properties. And that is just a pure fact. So if one way we like to describe it is, if you had to go into hospital for a fortnight, where would your business be? And as a developer, you rely on a lot of professionals, but you can't just rely on your memory or sometimes an Excel spreadsheet. But if you've got a full systemized process, it takes a lot of worry and sleepless nights off your plate, and it gives you more time, which is why you're doing it in the first place. Time is so important. Time to give back, time to help others, time to actually spend time with family. So important.
Yeah, fundamentally, money, and the more money you have, the more time you can sort of have on your hands, and the more sort of time you can rent from others to scale up.
Yes.
So it's quite clear that you're doing things at a very, very professional level. But I'm wondering, where did this professional level take you in terms of how many units have you delivered already, and how fast do you build a unit fundamentally?
Okay. So we predominantly look at a 16-week build, which is
under 4 months?
Yes, under 4 months. But currently we've added a couple of weeks to that, so we're looking at 18 weeks. That means that we need to be able to control our time frames. And one way we do that is we have locked in contracts with our builders, remembering we give them volume, so they give us commitment. So that means that I'm not just putting out a tender and hoping the builder can have the guys on my site, say 4 to 5 days of the week. And people say to me, especially coming from New South Wales or Victoria, they always say to me, how can you build in 16 weeks, which is now 18 weeks because of time frames with wood delays and also a little bit of wet weather.
You can't find wood nowadays.
No.
Everybody's crazy about timber and trying to find timber. So how do you manage to do all of this, and the size and everything? How big is your team? And also the question was, how many units have you delivered so far?
Okay. I'll start with the team. The team is me and my wife and our lovely office administrator. So really it's just the 3 of us as the core team.
Wow.
But we outsource all our professionalism. So we have the builder under contract, which can, that means that we can control our build time frames. So he already knows that he's got to build to a 16, 18 week timeline. We've delivered, we like to say, once again conservatively, we've delivered over 90 projects.
So that's 90 duplexes, that's 180 units?
Correct.
Wow.
So we know what our process is, and we know how to be specific, and everyone in our team knows it as well, because we've refined it and refined it and refined it. So that helps everyone. That means that everyone knows exactly where they're at in the process with their profession, as well as we know exactly where everyone is as well. That means that we're not taking up time that we shouldn't be taking up time with others, and also we know we're getting effective. So we, at the end of a build, we sit down, and we call it the good, the bad and the ugly. We sit down with the builder, and we also sit down with the professionals. For instance, architects. Before the building's handed over to property management, we bring the architects in and we walk through and we look at all the things that we love and all the things that have you got any ideas of how we could do this better. So when we talk about refining the process and the strategy, the process inside the business model, we're actually doing it. When we meet on site with the builder at all the different stages, and we talk about that stage. What did you find was difficult? What quite didn't go well? What could we change next time? Is there something to do with materials? Something to do with the actual framework? Could we have designed, chosen a different roof line? All these different things. Always looking at it. Now I could sit back and just let the machine roll, and but I don't think that's me. I don't think that's us. We like to continually improve, because if we can we found that if we do our duplexes right, they're all positive cash flow. That means no more sticking your hand in the pocket. That means you've got an investment property that actually does what it's supposed to do. What we all believe property investing is supposed to do, actually pay for itself.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to growing that portfolio, all I have to do is deliver once, and people go, once they see that big chunk of equity in their bank account, they just go, what have you got next? So I guess in our favour, we're up to 3 and 4 duplexes for one client now, because we delivered what we said the first time, and we're stringent on our processes, so we're being able to do it over and over again. Consequently, 180 plus units is a reflection of how good processes and procedures are, if you really want to be able to do the numbers, and also get specific in what your strategy is. And for us, it's helping others, and we were able to demonstrate that. So we, as property investors, made mistakes, and we saw the duplex as a low risk model that was something that actually returned what an investment property should actually do.
So let me get a better understanding. So all of those units, do you do them as a developer with your own money, with money from investors, or as a JV with certain investors?
Predominantly, people have come to us and they've said, look, I've looked at what you're offering, it says it's worth more than what I'm paying for. We go, yep, and they go, excellent, I'm going to sell this and make a whole lot of money. And we go, okay, that's your prerogative. I think we've had one person do that. Once we've built them one and they've seen that they don't have to put their hand in their pocket, and they've seen that it generates a huge chunk of their equity towards their next one, they end up buying 2 and then buying 3, depending on their serviceability, obviously.
Yeah.
But we've had a guy come to us and he couldn't do it. He didn't have enough equity. His family didn't have enough money. There was no one that he could borrow off, and he was having a cup of coffee with one of his workmates, and he ended up doing a duplex with his workmate. They got the contract sorted so it was separated, so that they owned 50% of each. Both those guys own their own houses because of going into, but they couldn't have done it on their own.
Yeah.
But together, and they only had met at work. So you'd be surprised the amount of people you can help. So for us, it's not about us being growing millions and millions of dollars. It's about us being able to help people, and that's the way we've always looked at it. Help property investors get what they actually believe. Is it the highest returning property investment? No, there's lots of strategies you can do that are way more return, but they also come with way more risk. So it's up to the individual's specific circumstance, what they actually look at doing with property investing or development. But for us, we already had mastered the property investing side of things, and we took our education around property investing, created a model to be able to help people at a lower end of the scale, and then actually generate what it's supposed to do. Sure, we get paid and our professionals get paid too, but we leave a substantial amount of money on the table. But because we can offer volume to our professionals, that's how we can do that.
They also look after it, yeah.
Yeah.
So how can somebody that is listening to this come towards you for help? And when they do, what's the process? What's step 1? What's step 2?
We've got obviously our website and our Facebook page. If somebody wants to get in contact with us and find out more information, please do reach out. We've got a 1800 number. If you ring and set up a time, we'll have a conversation with you, or you can actually book online off our website, that people can actually at a time that suits them around their busy schedule. They can also schedule time after hours or during daylight hours, depending on their circumstance. Just have a chat and see if it's something that they may be interested in, or see if it's something, because a lot of busy professionals, that's why we have the after hours, a lot of busy professionals working during the daytime, too busy to actually get into the development side of things themselves, or if it's just mum and dad that want to get into property investment with somebody that's got a bit of experience about it, and we're able to put you in touch with people that have worked with us before. That gives people a lot of confidence, but we're also able to demonstrate that through our process and our procedures and what we've got coming up. So yeah, usually through our Facebook page or through our website.
And when they do, what's the step? So you have this initial conversation.
Yes.
And if you go forward, what's the next step? Do they go to the bank? Are you also helping them getting the finance?
We have a couple of professionals based around Australia that have approached us in regards to finance, accounting, that sort of thing, depending on where people are. Believe it or not, 90% of our people that work with us are actually not from Queensland. They're actually from Sydney and Melbourne. Western Australia, huge amount of people from Western Australia. It's just understanding that you don't have to be there, but having the investment that does what you see is actually what you get, if that makes sense.
And given the track record that you guys have,
yeah.
I guess it gives them confidence that their investment is in safe hands.
Yeah, so book a call with us, have a chat to us, tell us what your specific situation is. If we think we can help, obviously finance is a big thing. So it's talking to somebody that has access to multiple lenders, but also understands the lending criteria for duplexes. Sometimes going directly to a bank, they think it's one thing, but they get down the road a bit further and, well, I like to say I don't talk bank. I understand banking, but when I'm talking to a banking professional, it's not my forte. I let my lovely wife talk because she's way better at the banking side of things. So for some people, banking can be a challenge. So talking to a professional like a mortgage broker, someone that's got access to a lot of lenders, whether they be private or professional, they can usually offer them the best outcome. Then once I've spoken to them, come back to us and let's see if we can tailor-make something to suit your needs. There's so many different types of duplexes out there. There's obviously single garages, corner lots, double garages, two-story. We try to stay at the low set in regards it's a cheaper build price. We look at maybe larger lot sizes because we're in Queensland, and we all know in the property game land goes up in value, not the building. Sometimes the buildings are worth a lot in different locations in big cities, but you can't go wrong with a bigger block of land, even if it's low set. So that's something that we can look specifically depending on the individual's specific situation.
Definitely. So let's now go into the good and the bad, let's say. So let's tell us about maybe how you process issues, because I imagine that not everything is rainbows.
No.
And the good, like what projects do you currently have on the go that you feel excited about?
We have a couple of projects coming up on the go, especially with two developers that we've done quite a bit of work with, and land developers that we've done a lot of work with, and we're looking at a couple more moving forward. They're already talking about them, so that's fantastic. But some of the things that can go wrong is, especially with duplexes, is the misinterpretation that a duplex can be actually put on that lot sometimes with a land developer, he'll make 3 or 4 lots, or he'll make a whole lot of lots, duplexes, but then once he meets his criteria, then he has to take that off the market. So sometimes people buy duplex land that isn't actually able to build a duplex on. So I would highly recommend people engage a town planner earlier if they're looking at doing that. That's one of the processes that we do right at the start. We don't take any land that could never be, and that's our town planner checking it right from the start, but that's us doing all our due diligence as well. It's also got to be at the right price. So when I talk about positive cash flow, sometimes you pay too much for the land to get the land, especially in an emotional market like we are currently, where if you take too much time to think about purchasing a property, 3 or 4 other people have already put down cash and beaten you to the punch, so to speak. So you've really got to make sure that what you're paying for it is subsequent. So it's becoming more about being specific to your target area and knowing your numbers, because if you're only getting like, say, $500 a week, and I know the rents are up as well, but if you're getting $500 a week and you paid $1.2 million for the land, it's not really, because by the time you build it, you've got a multi-million-dollar property, and $500 a week isn't going to make it positive cash flow. So that's one area that people get caught out, and we'll walk away from land, but fortunately enough, we're in that position where we can say, oh, thanks very much, really appreciate that. It's not for us, because we're working with so many people at the moment. But then again, we find the same, where people say, well, the market's up, you either want it or you don't. If we can't make the numbers work, we don't. So it's one of the things that we stick by. And you know how we talk about our system? Well, our business model doesn't work if our price point just keeps creeping up, but the rent's not there to support it.
Now I have a curiosity question. So you've fundamentally delivered close to or over 180 units so far. Do you have any idea roughly what dollar amount they represent?
Just off the top of my head, but not specific. I mean, it seriously could be more. It's over 80 million.
Over 80 million?
Yes, yes.
Beautiful, yeah. It's a big number.
Yeah, but we like to be conservative.
I like that you're all so humble. This is how a lot of successful people are.
And it's to us, we see the opportunity, more people walking through the door, and there's nothing more satisfying than walking through a duplex and the client turning around and saying, it just warms the cockles of our hearts when the client says, oh, I could live here. Or it's so funny when the wife will say, oh, this bathroom's better than our one at home, or this bedroom's bigger than our master bedroom at home. And it's so much the case, but that's when you know you're going to get a call and they're going to say, hey, what have you got coming up? And obviously people that have worked with us, they get priority, and we've already built that bridge with trust. I guess there's a lot of things that we do. You've seen some of my videos.
Yeah.
That is just a scratch of the surface in regards to what our clients get. Our clients get on-site live videos. So I'm doing live videos streaming straight to them, straight to their inbox when I'm on site on 2-3 times a week. So they're part of the build. They know exactly where they are in the build. They know exactly where they are because we do templates up in regards to what's happening in the process next. What happens with this? I do a completion video of each stage that they have to pay money, so they can actually go back and see exactly what they've paid for. So, for instance, from the site being cut all the underground services going, plumbing, electrical, telecommunications, the guys there boxing it up, the steel work going in, the concrete being poured, the drone footage all the way through that, and then the slab curing in the sun, and we're asking them to pay their payment. So
it's a beautiful process, and I feel like it shows a higher level of transparency, and it comes together with a lot more trust from the investors.
And that's all it was taking that next step with the transparency. I talked to a couple of builders, and they said some of their challenges when I was asking them how they do it. They said sometimes they get questions like, take a photo of the sign at the front so I can see that it's our property and not someone else's. So we thought, well, if we do live videos on their site, and yes, it costs more time and money, but I'm turning potentially 2, 4, 6 keys. So we're reaping those rewards in the long term. Because people buy maybe with a real estate agent 1 or 2 properties. That's mum and dad's first property, and they might buy an investment property through that agent, or one of the kids buys their first investment property or first property through that agent because mum and dad did. And I'm averaging 3 duplexes, which is 6 keys depending on serviceability.
Wow, that's amazing. So what would you recommend somebody that is thinking to do property investment? What should they do? What should their first steps be? And somebody that is thinking of property development, what's your approach to, what would you advise them to get started on the right path, let's say?
Property investment and property development, first off I'll say very similar. First thing I would say is education. I'll tell you a little story about education. I've done a lot of education, but I did some education and I was expecting a high return and I didn't. And I like to tell a lot of people this. I didn't get the high return that I thought I was going to get. And I was a little bit disappointed, but I took the positive that I learned a lot. I took the positive. It's over the future, over time, I will reap that reward. Then about 12 months, 2 years later, I was looking back from where I was, and I was looking back towards where I'd done that education, and I thought to myself, gee, through that education I didn't do this deal. Through that education I didn't engage this person. Through that education I didn't actually take this deal or this deal. But the deal I did take was an absolute winner of a deal. So sometimes we don't realise what our education can give us. Right there and then we're looking for the quick fix, the injection, where's my return? But it's not really. I mean, like, what I paid for the course in education, I can easily say 10 times return my money plus.
That's how I feel about Rob Flaxseed's course.
Absolutely. The return I get from education is absolutely amazing in regards, but it's not always right there and then. It's when I've actually taken action, I've implemented the things that I've been learned, and you practice 2 or 3 times with engaging with people, and then all of a sudden you're going, gee, if I hadn't done that education, I wouldn't have approached that. If I hadn't engaged with those 3 or 4 people before this meeting, I wouldn't have had the same confidence. I wouldn't be reflecting the same confidence when I'm talking to these joint venture partners today. And that's all it is when people get in front of the camera as well. They actually get to the point where they're confident about sharing their experiences and people are learning. And I used to sit back and watch a lot of people on videos. Now I'm in a position where I've done a few videos, and now I'm confident to be able to share my experiences. And that's how you give back. It's just another way you're able to give back, because people can relate to it, and then people can actually implement it. And then people go, "Are you kidding me? Your videos are amazing, Dan." You know, if one day Dan interviewed me, you know, and that's all it comes down to, putting yourself.
This is the hotel we just pointed past. Huh?
Yeah, that's okay. Sorry. People say to me, they go, "Oh, really? That's amazing." You know, you know what? I'm going to go and talk to those people that I wasn't going to talk to. Those people that I've been avoiding. All those things that I know I need to take action on, I'm actually going to do them today, because what I needed was a little encouragement, a little, hey, why aren't you doing that? And I'm not saying it's from me and you, but it could be from someone they're talking to, and they go, "Yep, today I'm going to give it a go. I know I'm not going to like it. I know I'm going to probably make a bit of a mistake, but now that I'm hearing what these guys are talking about, that's how they started. That's how they didn't just become amazing at what they're doing straight away. It took a lot of time, and it took a lot of mistakes."
Is there anything that I missed asking you that you think would be of value?
I found that a lot of people are really harsh on themselves. I wouldn't say they're their own worst enemy. That is a common thing that I hear, but in reality, they're so judgmental of themselves, so they don't give themselves the opportunities straight away. It takes them a lot longer, because the first thing we do once we realise we can do something, we say to ourselves, "Well, I wish I'd done this earlier. I wish I'd taken that step. I wish." So, and that, in reality and concept, is all we did for our kids. We gave them the confidence to go into a property earlier by gifting them that money with their first duplex, and now they're in a position with their confidence and their own property to take their next step themselves.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And I've recently read a study that they've done at Yale University. Take this with a grain of salt, because I'm not sure if I can recall it perfectly. So they've done a study at the Yale University in 1970, when they asked all of the students if they have a goal in life and a plan how to get there. 3% said yes, 97% said no. Then they asked the same question to the same amount of people 20 years later. Those 3% had a net worth bigger than the other 97% combined. I feel like, definitely should give you, make you think that definitely if you have a goal, have a plan, and get going, start implementing actions, there is a big chance that you might actually be getting where you plan to get.
Absolutely, and that's what we did, is we planned at the start, and it wasn't huge dreams, it was just little steps, and then we grew our confidence. And that's all it is everyone's got different confidence levels, but the sooner you find out where that level is, the sooner you can build on it.
Thank you, Denis. I really appreciate it. I feel like you shared some amazing insights with us today. So
my pleasure, Dan.
If anybody wants to get invested in the Sunshine Coast, reach out to Denis. I feel like he's your guy.
My pleasure.